You've driven past it 1,000 times, that brilliant, almost electric blue flower growing at the edge of the road, the field margins, and forgotten patches of ground. Most people call it a weed and they just keep driving. But here's what they don't know, and what healers in ancient Egypt, Rome, and medieval Europe knew very, very well. This plant is one of the most medicinally versatile, energetically precise, and historically documented herbs in the entire Western herbal tradition. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly why and how practitioners have used it for over 3,000 years to cool the liver, clean the blood, reset the gut, and bring the body back into balance. Stick with me, because just before the end, I'm going to show you how every single thing we cover today is mapped and connected inside the Ultimate Herbal Database. If you've ever wanted a true knowledge system for plant medicine, not just a list of herbs, but a living, interconnected web of plant wisdom, you'll want to see that. Cichorium intybus, chicory, is a perennial member of the Asteraceae family, native to Europe, and now naturalized across much of the temperate world. You know it by its jagged leaves, its startling blue composite flowers that open only in morning light, and its deep, bitter taproot. But the roots of chicory's medicinal story run just as deep as the plant itself. The ancient Egyptians used it. There's evidence of Cichorium cultivation in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts ever discovered, dating to 1550 BC. The Romans, including Pliny and Virgil, wrote about it as a food and liver remedy. Galen, the father of European pharmacy, listed it as one of his go-to better digestive plants. And by the time of the medieval herbalists, chicory root was as standard a liver remedy as any in the pharmacopoeia. In more recent history, during the Napoleonic blockade and both world wars, chicory root became a coffee substitute throughout Europe, roasted and brewed as a bitter, warming alternative when coffee supplies were cut off. And this tradition survives to this day in Louisiana's famous chicory coffee, blended with the intense heat of the French roast. But as much as history's fascinating, and I do want you to hold on to this question, why the liver? Why has every culture that encountered this plant reached for it when the liver was struggling? We're about to answer that. To understand why chicory's been reaching across thousands of years of human medicine to the same organ, the liver, you do need to understand its energetics. And this, of course, is where herbal medicine gets genuinely fascinating. In the Western herbal tradition, we assess a plant by its quality, its temperature, its moisture, and its taste. And these are not abstract concepts. They're functional descriptions of what a plant does to the body, how it shifts physiology. Chicory is cooling and drying, and chicory is profoundly, unmistakably bitter. Each of these qualities has direct clinical meaning. Cooling means it reduces excess heat, like inflammation, fever, irritation, the hot, flushed, irritable patient with red eyes, anger, and a system running too hot. Drying means it moves stagnant fluids, excess dampness, sluggish lymph, water retention, boggy digestion. And bitter, this is where chicory truly shines. Bitter taste in herbal medicine is the master key to the liver and digestive system. Bitters stimulate the bitter receptors on the tongue, which send a cascade of neurological signals that cause the liver to produce bile and the gallbladder to contract and release that bile into the small intestine, and the stomach to increase its secretion of hydrochloric acid. In short, bitters wake up the entire digestive fire. Now, here's the clinical insight. Chicory is specifically indicated for what traditional herbalists call liver heat, the constitution with a hot, congested, overloaded liver. Think of the person who's chronically irritable, has a yellowish tinge to the skin or eyes, suffers from migraines above the right eye, wakes up between 1 and 3 in the morning, craves greasy or rich foods, but feels terrible after eating them, and whose digestion is sluggish and bilious. In Ayurvedic terms, this is a pitta excess pattern. In traditional Chinese medicine, it maps onto liver qi stagnation with heat. In constitutional Western herbalism, this is the choleric or bilious type. Different languages, the same clinical picture. So, traditional energetics point consistently to the liver, but what does modern phytochemistry tell us? And it turns out quite a lot. Chicory root contains a remarkable array of active constituents. Chief among them is inulin, a fructan polysaccharide that forms up to 40% of the dry weight of the root. Inulin is one of the most well-studied prebiotic fibers in existence. It selectively feeds beneficial bifidobacterium and lactobacillus species in the colon, increasing microbial diversity and short-chain fatty acid production. Multiple human trials have confirmed its positive effects on gut microbiome composition, bowel transit time, and glycemic control. But chicory's liver protective chemistry goes further. The root also contains sesquiterpene lactones, principally lactocosaprin and lactucin, which are responsible for its intense bitter taste and its choleretic effect, the ability to increase bile flow and bile secretion. These same compounds have demonstrated hepatoprotective, liver-protecting activity in cell studies, helping to shield liver tissue from oxidative and toxic damage. One of chicory's most exciting modern applications is in blood sugar regulation. The inulin content, particularly when sourced from the root, has a pronounced hypoglycemic effect. It slows the absorption of glucose from the gut, feeds bacteria that produce compounds that improve insulin sensitivity, and reduces postprandial blood sugar spikes. A 2014 randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine found that chicory root supplementation significantly reduced blood glucose and insulin resistance markers in pre-diabetic patients over 28 days. This isn't fringe herbal folk medicine, it's documented clinical research. For practitioners working with metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, or type 2 diabetes risk, chicory deserves a firm place in the protocol, ideally alongside dietary reform and other metabolic herbs. Chicory's cooling, anti-inflammatory character extends beyond the liver. Historically, it was used in hot, inflammatory joint conditions like gout, rheumatism, arthritic pain with redness and heat, again expressing that cooling energy on excess heat anywhere in the body. The bitter, cooling, drying action makes it useful for hot, inflamed skin conditions like erythema, eczema with hot, weeping characteristics, and skin complaints linked to liver congestion. In traditional practice, poor skin and a congested liver are often considered the same problem, expressed in two locations. The mildly diuretic action of chicory supports the urinary system, particularly in conditions with damp heat, such as urinary tract infections with burning heat or gout-related uric acid excess. It supports the kidneys in clearing the metabolic waste that the liver has mobilized. And there's also a subtle but notable action on the lymphatic system. Chicory's bitter, cooling profile helps move stagnant lymph, particularly when lymphatic congestion is associated with heat and inflammation. This aligns with its traditional use in swollen glands and sluggish immune states. Now we turn to use. How do you actually use chicory? The root is the primary medicinal part, harvested in autumn when inulin content is the highest. The root decoction is the most traditional preparation. Simmer 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried, chopped root in 2 cups of water for 15 to 20 minutes. Strain and drink 1 or 2 cups daily before meals. This maximizes the bitter choleretic action and is the strongest preparation for liver and digestive work. As a tincture, it's tinctured as a 1 to 5 in a 40% alcohol menstruum. The dose is typically 2 to 4 milliliters 3 times daily. The tincture carries the bitter sesquiterpene lactones as well and is convenient for clinical use. The young leaves can be infused as a gentler bitter tea, more appropriate for everyday use, tonifying the digestive system without the stronger root-level action. And of course, roasted chicory root, brewed as a coffee alternative, is the gentlest and most accessible introduction to the plant. It's warming, rich, and bitter, with a fraction of the therapeutic intensity of the raw decoction, perfect for daily constitutional support. There are a few important cautions. Chicory is a member of the Asteraceae family, so those with Asteraceae allergies, including known sensitivities to chamomile, echinacea, or ragweed, should exercise caution and may react to chicory. Because of its biostimulating action, chicory is contraindicated in gallstones, particularly obstructed gallstones, where stimulating bile flow could precipitate a biliary colic episode. Always assess for gallstones before prescribing strong cholagogue herbs. The cooling, drying energetics mean that chicory isn't ideal for someone who's already cold, dry, and depleted. The exhausted, underweight patient with poor circulation and cold extremities will be worsened by a highly bitter cooling herb, so match the energetics to the patient. And as always, in pregnancy, lactation, or with complex health conditions, consult a qualified practitioner before self-prescribing medicinal doses of any herb. I want to show you something. Earlier, I mentioned a living interconnected web of plant medicine knowledge. This is it. Inside the Ultimate Herbal Database, every plant connects outward to every related piece of knowledge. When you pull up Chicory, the first thing you'll see are all of the tags. Clicking on any of those tags will pull up all of the other plants associated with that tag. If you click on Arkansas, you'll pull up all of the plants that grow in Arkansas. In addition to all of the videos and other information, you can read about the constituents, more on the energetics, the uses, including an article I recently found on using it in dog food to help your dog. Here are uses that blend Eastern herbalism, Chinese herbalism in particular, with Western herbalism. Over on the left-hand side, you're going to see a lot of connections, and let me just open that up all the way so you can see them. At the top, you'll see various conditions that chicory is used for. For example, agents to treat high blood sugar. Clicking on that will pull up not only all of the other plants used for that purpose, but also information about what causes high blood sugar and other approaches that you can use to deal with it. There's a scroll bar, and watch as I pull the scroll bar. The prebiotic, the bladder stones, fatigue, tiredness. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the important constituents. And again, if you click on any of them, you can learn what they do and any other plants that they're found in. We've got the cautions, the preparation and dose, about chicory seed, and lots of studies so you can learn the scientific viewpoint regarding chicory. This is the difference between a list of herbs and a genuine knowledge system. In the Ultimate Herbal Database, you don't look up chicory in isolation. You understand it in context, in its web of relationships to other plants, other actions, other systems, other patient types. Every plant in the database has multiple full monographs covering energetics, constituents, traditional uses across multiple systems, clinical applications, preparations, dosage, cautions. Everything we covered in this video and significantly more is here. Structured, searchable, and cross-referenced. That brilliant blue flower on the roadside? Now you know what it knows. Thousands of years of human experience, confirming what its energetics tell us directly. Cool the heat, move the bile, reset the gut, and restore the liver. If you want access to the Ultimate Herbal Database, the link is in the description and pinned in the comments. Every plant, every connection, one living system. It's the most comprehensive tool I know of for serious students and practitioners of herbal medicine.